As the final test, we spent a whole day from 7 a.m. to midnight travelling with each operator.
On TransLink Northern Ireland Railways, we caught 14 trains, starting in Belfast and ending in Bangor. The trains were old, slow and uncomfortable, but because the service isn't very frequent, there was a lot of standing around on chilly platforms. More of those horrible toilets. And one train had a brick thrown at it. But on the plus side, the staff were helpful and the views were spectacular. We arrived in Bangor 5 minutes late and the total delay for the day was 1 hour and 31 minutes.
Here's our route on Virgin Cross Country. 8 trains starting off and finishing up in Derby. Again, we encountered several crowded trains. And we found a pretty unpleasant toilet. But we arrived on time at midnight. Total delay for the day, half an hour.
First Great Western, 10 trains starting at Didcot Parkway and ending up in Bristol via Cardiff, Paddington and Exeter, amongst others. Now, because there were no seats, we got stuck with a sliding door. Very annoying. And most of the trains were crowded. We finished in Bristol on time at midnight. Total delay for the day, 48 minutes.
And Arriva Northern. 15 trains starting in Leeds and ending up in Huddersfield. Again, it was crowded. There were scruffy carriages and dirty toilets. Our train to Sheffield became a bus when we missed our next connection. By the time we arrived in Bradford, we'd missed the last train and were stuck there till the next morning. We finally arrived in Huddersfield by bus the next day. Total delay, 11 hours and 29 minutes. Well, that's all 4 contenders. Let's recap on our runners and riders. TransLink Northern Ireland Railways, a slow and dirty train to Derry. Virgin Cross Country, delays, crowding and blackouts make each journey an adventure. Arriva Northern, not enough drivers means trains cancelled and replaced by buses. And First Great Western, so bad the passengers threaten to strike.
Time to meet the judges. Jonathan Tyler is a transport consultant who's worked in the rail industry for 37 years. Liz Fawcett from Transport 2000 in Northern Ireland, and George Stevenson MP, a member of the Transport Select Committee. OK, time to view the evidence. OK, now you've seen the evidence. What are your initial thoughts?
I don't think at this stage there's anything to choose between the 4. They have clearly all got problems.
The experiences of the passengers travelling on all 4 of the companies is quite appalling. It's not rocket science. These are things that management should be dealing with, irrespective of the framework in which they're operating. It's built into the system that the company and not the customer is given priority.
Until we have a good timetable delivered reliably, there's no point in having a railway.
First Great Western, the situation was poor. Passenger confidence was very poor on station facilities, but at least they were attempting to run the service. Virgin Cross Country, 3,000 complaints per week is very high.
I know we have said that even a delay of a few minutes is not really acceptable, but the length of some of these delays is quite incredible. I thought visually, to be honest, Northern Ireland Railways just looked the worst. I mean, you know, the trains were absolutely dire.
There has been some improvement and a recognition of how bad. I mean, one of the managers said, we're operating a second-rate service here. So that was worrying, but it was impressive at the same time. Arriva Trains Northern, I think, must take the prize for being the worst of the companies we've looked at. They showed very little effort and recognition on behalf of their passengers. So my vote goes to Arriva.
Yeah, well, I think I would have to agree with that. Arriva, in terms of the resources they've got and what they could have done with them, seems to have managed its resources absolutely abysmally.
One has that niggling feeling that they probably cut corners, and that simply isn't acceptable.
In my mind, there's no doubt. Arriva are the winners as the worst company, I think.
Quite honestly, I don't think they could care less about their passengers.
So, Arriva Northern it is then. I wonder whether they'll accept this, the award for UK's worst. Hello, I'm Nick Knowles from BBC Television's UK Worst programme. I'm here to present an award to Arriva Northern. Is there anyone that would like to come down and accept it? Sadly, it would appear that drivers are not the only thing that Arriva Northern are short of. In this entire building, there was no one available to receive the award. So I left it with their very lovely receptionist. Amazingly, a few days later, Arriva Northern decided they did want to talk and offered us an interview. Our panel of judges voted your railway company the UK's worst. How do you react to that?
Well, naturally, I'm very disappointed, but I don't accept it. Any of the publicity that's published by the Strategic Rail Authority doesn't show us anywhere near the worst train operating company.
This was based on evidence that we gathered together whilst travelling on the trains, talking to MPs, local representatives and passengers on the trains. We presented that to the judges, and that's how they decided that it was the UK's worst. Do you not agree that people are desperately unhappy with the service?
Our customers are right to be unhappy. We're fully aware of the impact that a poor quality service can have on our customers, and that's why last September I publicly apologised to them. The service that we inherited from the previous owners was diabolical. It was underfunded, it was under-resourced, it was underperforming. The service was just not good enough. We persuaded the Strategic Rail Authority and the 4 passenger transport executives involved to go for an emergency timetable. What we wanted to do was to stabilise the business, to give people certainty, so that when they came for a train, they got a train, or if they came for a replacement bus, it was there as well. And that plan has worked, and it's given us the chance to get that recruitment and training campaign in place, where we now get more drivers than we had at that time.
So if I come back in 6 months' time and go on your trains again, I will see a perfectly regular, reliable service?
We've made 4 promises. The first one was the emergency timetable that was in operation until the 25th of February. That worked well. The second one was to run 97% of our trains, which we're now running. The third promise is on the 2nd of June this year. We'll be running 100% of our trains when the lead first campaign is complete. And by September this year, 99% of all trains run every day will be operating.
And the trophy that your receptionist up in Sunderland took from us, where do you keep that now?
It's given out by the Strategic Rail Authority shows that we're not the worst performing company.
If your train service is terrible or